Is this the end of life, or the cue for a new beginning? Millions believe in reincarnation. Is there proof it really happens? Do people pass through many lifetimes? And can they bring back memories of having lived before? It's 350 years since the bloody battles of the English Civil War. But this man says he remembers fighting in them. And therapies now encourage people to relive the violent moments of their death in previous lives. But what can be known for certain? Scientists are trying to assess the evidence from those who claim to have lived before. Will they prove the case for reincarnation and reveal what brings those memories to the human mind? Many religions believe in reincarnation, but for most people raised as Christians, it's not something they expect. So when memories of past lives hit them, it can come as an unwelcome surprise.
I had never heard of something like this. I never was a believer in reincarnation, etc. I mean, it's not something I'm too pleased with. I really don't. I mean, I'm enjoying my life, but do I want to keep coming back and back? I don't know about that.
For Patricia Austrian, the agony of World War I's trench warfare and muddy battlefields belonged only in the history books, until her 4-year-old son told her that he'd been there in a previous life. From the start, Patricia had been puzzled by her youngest son Edward's bizarre phobia.
Ever since he was 1 year old, he was really fearful of dark, gray, drizzly, damp days. He was very anxiety-ridden and would become quite clingy and whiny.
He was also constantly ill and used a strange name for the throat problems which plagued him.
He kept referring to this area of his throat as my shot. I thought that he was describing the hurt in his throat because he had tonsillitis severely, always. He was always very sick.
But then Edward's parents were horrified to discover he had a growth in his throat, a severe type of cyst.
It was pretty big, very noticeable. It looked like a swelling in his throat.
Edward's doctors decided to remove his tonsils in preparation for further surgery. That night, after his operation, he suddenly told his mother a graphic first-hand account of a soldier's death in the trenches.
My name was James. I was 18 years old in France. Now remember, this is a 4-year-old child. We were walking along through the mud. It was damp, it was rainy, it was cold. My rifle is heavy. I remember looking out and seeing fields of trees, and then there was desolation. I heard a shot come from behind, and it went through someone else, hit me square in the back of the neck, and I felt my throat fill with blood. Believe me, that sent a chill through me.
It seemed that Patricia's son had just told her of a violent death in a previous life, in more detail than a 4-year-old should have known. An obvious explanation would be that the boy had read something or seen it on TV. But according to past life research, these experiences fit a familiar pattern. Carol Bowman became fascinated by past lives after her own young son spoke of strange memories. She's compiled a book based on children's experiences and believes they should not be dismissed.
Usually the parents are resistant to what the children are saying, and they will say to the child, "You saw this on TV, right?" Or "This is something you heard," and the child will be very insistent and serious. "No, this really happened." And I think in our culture, parents don't want to believe this. And it's the children that eventually convince them that this is real. I found through my research that children up until about the age of 5 have these past life memories spontaneously, just naturally. And I think this is just a natural part of a young child's development, something that we really haven't looked at in the West.
A previous life experience, I was not convinced that this was real. I thought this was the ramblings of a child.
But what made Edward's parents change their mind was something else that happened. At the same time that Edward spoke of being shot in the throat, his growth suddenly disappeared. Stephen Levine was also surprised. As a doctor, Edward's father knew that he'd witnessed something unusual.
The experience that I've personally had with these type of growths is that they never go away. So I was not only pleased but surprised, and I didn't know what to make of it. My schooling was, he's going to develop cancer in that growth.
Open your mouth wide.
Edward's doctor, ear, nose and throat specialist, Stephen Levine, was also surprised.
Good, excellent. I'm not sure what I can make of this story of Edward's remembrance of a past life. I, as a physician and scientist, can only observe things, and then if I can explain them, that's fine. But there are some things that I just can't explain, and this is one.